just sitting in the classroom and being patient and listening. I had so much on my mind. I wanted to get out into the world and live it and do it. And as a result, my marks weren't very good, and my abilities weren't very good. I was not very good at reading. I had a lot of difficulty reading, and that made it very hard when I wrote, because I had a lot of spelling mistakes, and I was constantly being told, you have to stop, all your playing, and you have to study harder and study harder, and I just couldn't find it within myself to do that. And so the dream of becoming a writer became a little bit grayer and grayer and grayer. I thought it's going to be pretty difficult for me to be a writer if I've got trouble reading and writing. But I didn't give up. I kept writing stories, and I kept writing, and when I got into high school, I kept writing poetry, and trying to come to peace with this question that I had been asking myself since I was a little kid, which is, why am I here? When I was really little, when I was 4 and 5, I really wanted to be a superhero. I wanted to be like Superman, go out and save the world. And my mother used to tell me, well, when you're bigger, you'll be stronger. You just keep eating and keep, and I would look in the mirror and I would try and I got older and older, and I keep looking in the mirror and waiting, and nothing ever happened. I just didn't really grow very much, and I never got stronger, and I thought, well, I'm going to have a hard time being Superman too. How am I going to be a writer? How am I going to be Superman? I was kind of slowly giving up on myself. And when I got to be about 13, my friends started changing as well. We know a lot of times when we're young, we try to find our identity, and a lot of my friends were finding their identities through different fashion, through different music, and that's wonderful. But it was hard for me when my friends were expecting me to give up the play acting that I loved and the stories that I loved, and telling me that the only way I was going to really grow up or be a part of their groups was if I dressed the way they did, if I thought the way they did, if I listened to the same music that they did. And I realized that if I was really going to achieve those dreams of being Superman, and of being a writer, and of trying to change the world, that I was going to constantly have to fight against the grain of other people and their ideas of what the world was about, of even my own abilities, my own physical luck of the draw, and my own mental limitations of learning. I was going to have to fight even harder to get over these things. And when I got into high school, as I mentioned, Canada was very multicultural. And faith to me was very important, a belief in something greater than ourselves. And I was raised in a Roman Catholic environment, but I never really, I always really believed there was something beyond just church on Sunday. I would read the stories of the Greek myths, and I would talk to friends of mine who were Greek Orthodox, and I realized that there were different understandings of how the world had been created, or of who God was, or what God was. I had friends who were Jewish, I had friends who were Sikh, I had friends who were Hindu, and people who followed the Buddhist tradition. And I realized that all of these different groups were all claiming to own the truth. But where was the truth really? And this propelled me onto a search. And the writing that I began to do, the poetry, the songs that I began to write at the age of 17, 18, were all about that search, trying to find out who we are and why we're here. And the more I read and the more I learned, the more I realized just how connected we all are as human beings. And that's what a lot of my songs began to evolve as. And I hope when I sing tonight, you won't hear all of my spelling mistakes, because although I'm much older now, when I sit down to write an email to people, and I sit there and type, and I look up at the page, the whole thing is red, because I still can't read or write. It takes me so long to read. When people say to me, I wrote you an email 3 weeks ago, why didn't you answer? Well, because I probably had to read it about 20 times to understand it, and it takes me about 3 days to compose an email so that and people read my message and say, wow, you write so well. Yeah, it takes me a long time to be able to do it. So we can't give up on these limitations. As far as Superman goes, as you can see, I never really got beyond the body of about a 7-year-old. But one day, something very interesting happened. I was in an airplane. I was flying to a performance. And I spent about 4 months, 5 months of the year away from home, flying to perform and to share my songs with people. And I fell asleep on the airplane. And I remember waking up with my head against the window. And I looked out of the airplane window. And I was over a desert somewhere. And I looked down and I said to myself, where am I? you know, I don't even know where I am. Sometimes I wake up in hotel rooms and I don't know where I am. Sometimes I wake up in my own bed at home and don't know where I am. It's a freaky experience. But I looked out the window and I saw, and I for one brief moment, I remember feeling a lot of self-pity. What kind of life is this? To spend so much time away from and here I am flying above the earth, I don't know where I am, and then I stopped myself and I slapped myself and said, wait a minute. You wanted to be Superman. You wanted to fly around the world and try and help people look at life in a new and better way, and try to help people make the world a better place. You wanted to be a writer, and now you find yourself 5 months of the year at 35,000 feet above the earth, flying around the world, trying to remind people of how important they are and how important it is that we don't give up on ourselves and we try our best to keep this world the best place it can be. So that's kind of what brings me here today. The superhero wannabe / storyteller who is hoping that tonight Zane and I can inspire you to rip open your shirts and rip off your hijabs and let those capes fly, and well, keep your hijabs on. But you know, I think if you kind of sort of flick your hijab in a certain way and you catch the wind, you may find your aerodynamic. It might happen. So fly. Let yourself be free tonight. Let your hearts be free tonight, because the best way to connect with Allah is to not let anything get between your heart and Allah. And I've heard someone even said this weekend that what comes from the heart goes to the heart. So tonight, as we help you think about some things you could write about, don't give up on your hearts, because that may be the link to someone else's heart, inshallah.